Let's put the icing on top of our journal. Hello and welcome to the Treasured Page. I'm Melanie and this is our quiet crafting space. And today we're having a look at the very final project of Build a Journal for 2024. This was a project that started last year in 2023 in March, and it has progressed. Every month there has been a new project to help you build a journal. Now, some of you have been doing this at home and some of you have been sharing the makes that you create and sending it to others. And there are swap groups that have gone on internationally, and you have all been posting photographs and things over on my Facebook page, which is the Treasured Page FB group, and we've had a lot of fun there. So this is the final concluding project for this Build a Journal 2024. And so for the final project, you can have a little look at the supplies in front of me and have a guess what I'm going to suggest. I'm just going to talk through the idea today so that you can go away and find the supplies and get your minds around how you will tackle this. So this is the 1st of February, it's our February project, and the project will be received in March for those of you that are sending out Happy Mail and sending out swaps. So every month we have a whole month to make the project, and whether you're keeping it for yourself to enjoy or whether you're gifting it to a like-minded friend, I'm sure you'll have fun with this project. This month's project is to make a bookmark spine dangle. And what that means is we will be making a bookmark that will go inside the journal, and off the top we will have something that comes out, be able to hang outside of the journal and down the spine, cascading, with a lovely display of things that we want to put there, whether it's trim, lace, yarn or beads that we're going to have a look at today. For those of you unfamiliar with what a spine dangle might be, this is one that was made for me by the very talented Claire at Purple Poppy here on YouTube, and she has put this together for me, which was absolutely gorgeous, and every time I see it, it makes me smile. This is from a swap that we did last year. It comprises of paper beads, which I have a video to show you how to make, and she's also added in some special glass beads at the end there as well, and it's all on some jewellery that she has managed to salvage some chain from, and she's clipped it together. This is removable from the journal and is held together by a paper clip, and this is just cute for a little small journal such as this because it just slots on the spine here and it gives it some decoration, and that just looks lovely if it's standing up in the bookcase, and that's what you see. It's just very pretty, and it can come on this side as well. But also what gave me the idea is that this can come and be a bookmark in the journal, so you could make one like that. But what I'm proposing is that we make one with an actual bookmark. So we make the bookmark, then perhaps we have a hole with a reinforcement, perhaps an eyelet, and then off of that we will have the dangle. We have the bookmark in the journal like that, and then when you close it, you'll be able to find your page and you'll have the dangle outside, and that can come and live on that side of the journal or the spine. So that's the idea. What we're also going to be making is beads made out of paper. We've looked at paper beads before here on the channel. I've made some out of washi tape and we cut them into triangles and then we roll them up and we end up with something similar to that, something quite small. When I did my demo with Claire, she made wider ones, so you get this nice elongated bead. That's very pretty. But this time what I want to focus in on is barrel beads. So they're not tapered, they are just a roll of paper. Very, very easy and simple to make. And then after that, what we can do is we will be able to decorate them with different types of paper. So these ones, they were already decorated and then they were rolled, so you lose the integrity of the image on the paper that you used. But this one, you're going to get a very nice pattern. So they are barrel beads, cylinder beads, straight beads, whatever you call them, that is what we're going to be making. You can decorate the beads any way you like. So we're going to make a number of beads, whatever you feel fits your project the best, and from there we're going to decorate them. So once you've made the beads out of scrap paper, just nothing fancy, just roll up the beads. I'll show you how to do it. you will then be looking at decorating them into something more interesting. So you might like to go down the route of making boho beads. Now this is just a slither of fabric that I've wrapped around the bead. I haven't secured it yet because this is just a demonstration one, but if you can see, if I slowly unravel it here, you can see that I made the original bead out of book page, and actually on its own that even looks really quite fun to have the book page cylinder beads because you can read the words. So that's fun, you can do that. You can also get some interesting papers. I've got some script here that might look really nice if I wrap that around the bead and then we glue that on, and we have this sort of interesting patterning appearing from the script writing. So these are things that you can do. Maybe that you take scrapbooking paper and you have a look at all your papers and things that you might have. You've got decorative paper that you can easily wrap round, and all of a sudden you've got something really unique and a bit different, this rolled up portion of some interesting paper that you like. And then if you keep all your beads in a similar colour theme, the way that Claire has done here in her example, where we've got the cream and the green and then we've got a little pop of red because she has used napkin in hers, you can see the colours have been used and all kept within that same colour tone. So she's got 3 different colours going on there and it just works. It looks really pretty, and then you could make that work for the bookmark as well, so everything ties in with the colour. So the project is going to get us to look at making straight cylinder beads like that from paper, and how we would do that is to wrap some paper around a stick or a bamboo skewer, or even it could be something like you get from a pen, an old cartridge like that, something where you then take your papers and you roll it around to create a bead. And what you would then do is put in some glue all the way along the inside so that when you roll it up it's sticking to itself. Now you could put some sticky tape, double-sided sticky tape, and you could do it that way. And then you just position it in there, make sure that it's all lining up and going straight, put some glue in there, and then you've got a very nice tube bead. Well, you could use decorative paper and you could dispense with then decorating it at all, because it would come out and already have the nice patterning on the paper that you've used. We could just glue this shut just for the demonstration. We could then think about what else we might have. We've got washi tape. Well, you could wrap it in washi tape afterwards. Use up some of the tapes that you've got. Maybe you could start it at the top and wind it all the way down. If we've got one wide enough, you could just roll that around like that, and then we can just, and then we just snip it off. And then just snip off the ends and you've given yourself a very nice interesting bead. So it's really as simple as that. It doesn't need to be complicated. If you prefer larger beads with a larger hole, you could use something like a drinking straw to wrap your paper around. This is actually a cotton reel, but that could have been wrapped around a thick drinking straw with some firm paper, and then afterwards we could decorate it with some fabric, and then this becomes really interesting, a really nice chunky bead. And those of you that like slow stitching might want to put some stitching in there, maybe embellish with some beads or something. Maybe you take a scrap of coffee dyed paper and you wrap it around a pen. This is going to give you a much wider barrel bead, and if you go around several times and glue all the way around as you go, you're going to be left with a tube bead that looks like that. Well, maybe you don't want it that wide, maybe half of that would be really cute. And after that you could then wrap some fabric around it and really make one of these fun boho beads with scraps of fabric and paper, and just pulling it round and adding some lace or some wire, however you see fit. Really make a rustic one. That could be really fun. Different scraps coming in here, making sure the colours work together, and perhaps some seam binding going round, loose and airy and brilliant, and then with some beads in there. That could be really interesting, and you just have a play with this idea of how you might create something a bit unusual. You could add paint, you could have anything. You just can have a look at what you might have on your craft table and then just play about with it and see what you can come back with. Interesting barrel beads, just going to be fun. You could even have a go at rolling without the need for a pen or a stick and just see what you can come back with. So imagine that we've glued that shut, and then just start wrapping around some fabric and just have a look at what it looks like when you start binding in the cotton or the yarn or the lace or the decorative paper, and just build up some texture on these beads and see what you get. Well, this one's going flat, but that's actually quite interesting. And maybe if you've got some wire, you could go round with some wire. Perhaps you've got something from the florist, and then you could maybe delve into any fancy yarns that you have, any seam binding, any vintage lace that you might have, any woolens that could be of interest, and anything like this that we might have stashed away. And when you're looking to make your straight beads or your cylinder beads, you can even have a look at vintage papers such as sheet music or map. You would just need to take a skewer from the kitchen. This is a bamboo skewer. You can look at metal ones. You can have a look at the pen idea like I've shown you there. You can even look at things that maybe go into a plant, like a spike that this one held up an orchid that I had that I was given. So there's things like that. Have a look around. You'll probably find lots of little things that you might have, even tools where this is a file, and so that's a perfectly good sturdy substrate in which to be able to wrap the bead around. So you would just get it started by rolling it on there and making a little hook, and then you would start by putting your glue on. And you can do that with stick glue, that's fine. You can do it with a wet glue, with something with a little bit more stick to it. You can use a matte medium, which is waterproof as well. So we just sort of glue the inside, hook it over, get it started, and then it will be able to stick to itself. So just roll it up like that. Roll it up like that, little bit of glue on the end, make sure it's stuck. Just keep it rolling like that until it's dry. And then if you've got some crafter's varnish or something that you could use to give it something a little bit more sturdy, use some fast drying nail polish, a clear one, just give it a little bit of a coating there, and then that could be secure and maybe give an aging effect even, so that's quite fun. Little bit of a finish to it, so we can say that that one's done. I might just put that back onto the spike to dry for a second and lean it up there. And from here you can then have a look at ribbon and things you could slide the beads onto and how that looks. So we've got chain being used here, which is really interesting. That's off of some broken jewellery, and I've got some chunky chain here, so that would look quite fun as well. And it even had charms and things that came off of it, so there's an idea there to maybe put some beads or some more charms. I might like to use beads from broken jewellery or from my own stash, and I can start building up something. So these are the things to look for. This was a part of a bracelet which is broken, so it's all perfect to be using. The other thing that we're going to have a look for is something circular. Now this has come from an old key ring, and that is perfect because what we could do is we could hang all of our ribbon and things off of the bottom of it, and then we can attach our beads to it, and we could put lace and we could put some of our yarns and things and have a whole lot of different textures. So you might like the idea of having some vintage lace going over the top of this ring, bringing that down, maybe tying it on, maybe sewing it on. Nice long one that's going to fit the length of the spine of a journal, and that's how we can do that. And then we can just build these up, so we can either sew on that to a main piece of tape and have them all coming off here, something that we sew on, something that we clamp on, something that we trap under a larger bead perhaps. You know, there's lots and lots of different ways you can tackle this. This is another idea. This was an old washer that I found and washed, like these ones. These, I think you may have even seen me extracting those from outside. Well, this is seam binding, and I'm just wrapping it around an old washer. You might have something like this in the drawer from some flat pack furniture or something where they give you one spare, or maybe you haven't used everything and you've got one piece left. Well, this is its day. This is what you can do. You can wrap it round with some of your yarn and just cover that. And there we go, so we just wrap that all the way around so that you've got a nice little donut shape there. Then we just tie off the end there, and we've got a nice covered washer looking really smart, and we can just use those tattered ends there as part of it. So we can now pretend that we've got this, and from here maybe we have the lace going through, and we can start building up texture. And you can have a play with the different types of yarn, lace, all the things that you want to bring in, and then we can start building in our beads that we're going to make, maybe have some on the end, put in a knot so that it can't escape, and then maybe even bring in some buttons that we might want to hang on to it, some extra beads. If you haven't got any washers or a ring, you could even have a look in your jewellery box, see if you've got a junk jewellery ring that you could use. That could be fun. The other thing to consider is some buttons, maybe a nice big vintage button, and use the buttonholes as areas where you can thread things through, maybe chain, maybe cotton, and then have the beads swinging off of that. And maybe you could stitch on some of the lace and some of the trim. And then the top part of your button you could use to be the place where you secure that with a piece of ribbon that goes to your bookmark. So that would happen. So you would connect the button to the bookmark and the button to the interesting bits here. So it could be that you have a button here instead of a washer, and you connect the button to your bookmark, and then you've got the trailing bit here. Well, you might want another piece of lace to connect the two together, so that is something to figure out. Alternatively, you could have a look for a bigger button. This one's plastic, but it's got a top and a bottom to it, so it allows things to be threaded through nice and easy like that. That could work. And then the same on the top. So we've got to work out how we're going to get the bit that goes from the top to the bookmark. So it could be a connecting device that looks something similar to that. And so this is a very rough mock-up of what it could look like, where you have your bookmark, and ideally that would be a little bit bigger. This comes and sits in the journal, and then you can find the place where you're working on by something interesting that looks nice as you're looking at the journal from inside. When you close your journal, that comes over and the whole thing would dangle off of the side, or it could come to the front or the back of the journal, and that's the idea. But in this example we wouldn't have the paper clip. You would be decorating your dangles off of the ring or off of the fabric piece that is there. So that's how it could be. You could sew it all on and not have the ring. It's entirely up to you. It's going to be something to have a think about, and it could even be a button. It could be a button. It could be a circle, it could be a paper clip, it could be anything. It could be, you could fashion a paper clip into something there, it could be a piece of card, it could be anything, and then you hang your different beads, strings off of something that goes there. So it's the something there that you need to figure out and have a little play with. So this is the general construction idea for this month's project. It's to go away and be thought about how you might like to tackle that. There are no rules, there is no theme. You can change it, you can have it exactly how you like. You do not have to have paper beads, you can bring in your own little charms and trinkets, broken jewellery, anything that you want to work with. So please don't feel under pressure to make something that you haven't done before, and if you have done it before and already feel like you've done that and you're not interested, then please don't push yourself to do it, but come up with some other idea of how you could make something that swings and dangles and looks pretty. The other idea, if you are making some beads such as this little one that we've done here, it's really nice to have in the center of a signature. So that is a really cool idea, to make a paper bead and then glaze it with some clear nail varnish, and I feel now that actually I could put that in the center of my signature. And this is the little bead that I've made out of vintage map, which is really interesting. So have a look at this idea. I've put a bead on the two strings that come from the center. So this is another idea. We can just tie a knot there, and then that can come and live in the center of this journal. So that is a nice idea. If you would like to make some beads, a little bit of glue, and then that whole thing will stay in there as an embellishment. It's a really cool little idea. So if you'd like to make any of those for your journals, that's another idea when you're making up your paper beads. So have a really good play with this. Have a think, see what you would like to do. Get the supplies together, and we'll be making this properly over the weekend in my next video. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you've got some inspiration there for the project ahead, and that you will slow down and make crafting time for you. Bye bye now.